Did you like that, guys? That's a wulisi. It's a traditional Chinese instrument. And I was able to find one out here just randomly at a music shop, a two-reeded instrument, at a music shop here in Hanoi on Hao Nam Street. And I knew what it was exactly. I was kind of shocked to see it because, I've been to music shops in countries all around the world, and first time I just saw one sitting there, so I had to get it, of course. But I first heard it at a friend's birthday party, a Chinese friend, when I was living back in Wisconsin, cold Wisconsin. And I guess she was an expert at it. I mean, she played some really amazing folk music, but I don't know any of the Chinese or the Vietnamese folk music. I know the folk, of course. I know the people quite well. But anyway, I just wanted to talk just a little bit about philosophy today, because I don't know, I've just been thinking more on a metaphysical kick, and especially with, I realize it's kind of poisoning my psyche a bit to just be reporting on current events, because everything is just so, it's just so crass, a lot of it. And if it bleeds, it leads, right? I mean, it's violence and sex, and that's just the entertainment part of the whole thing. Even when we have nice, virtuous outliers like, I guess, Steven Crowder, and of course Ben Shapiro, our man Ben Shapiro. So, but who I follow, who I really listen to since I've been red-pilled, and since I've turned to, alternative media, is just, I've really been interested in, of course, Stefan Molyneux. I did a response video to him, and Jordan Peterson, and I've joined some Jordan Peterson groups on Facebook, and that's been really interesting, because to see so many like-minded people on that same path. And I see him as really fitting in with everything else that I've been doing over the last year or so to, in his words, sort myself out, to actually take some time to figure out what I was doing and who I wanted to become. Because especially, it happens when times are good, and it happens when times are bad, that we enter into this stasis where we think, things aren't changing, I'm just me, this is just it, day to day. I guess we would call it a rut, even though things change on the surface or something. I don't know. Some of us have, more of a sense of adventure than others, or more of a thirst to just keep going. But even people like that, just fall into the same routines and get into this illusion that nothing is changing and nothing is really happening and time isn't really passing. Sort yourself out, so I've been thinking about that. And I've expanded my metaphysical reading to include a lot of, of course, the same Buddhist literature that I was reading, but then also I've been reading a lot of the Bible again, which has been great. And I was reading the New Testament today, and I found some really interesting ideas. And this is part of the whole red-pilling process, I'd say. Like, when I was far into the left, I may have been outwardly Christian or had certain Christian convictions. So much that I would even spread them and share them as I once did. But, how flippant that is, and how, like, everything else, that changes and that goes by the wayside. And how time and experience can kind of convince us that maybe, all these spiritual thoughts are just in vain, and there's no real point to it. And even deeply religious people like our friend Ben Shapiro, he'll badmouth the song "Imagine" by John Lennon by taking it literally as some kind of communist propaganda. When really living for today, it goes back to the scripture I just read in the book of Matthew, where Jesus says, don't worry about tomorrow, because today has enough problems. And it's funny, I've read the King James Bible twice, and I've probably read and I've gone back to it many times, and at least in America, where I would go to church, where I could find Quaker meetings and so on. But it's amazing how many times you can read something and it doesn't really hit you until a specific day. And that really kind of made me think, yeah, this is a good idea. I do need to be reading the Bible again, although I'm still reading Buddhist scriptures and metaphysics and whatever I can get my hands on. Because at the end of the day, the political writing, it does give me some clear idea of what side I'm on, but it doesn't really help me understand where I am in the universe. And this channel itself is an expression of that, in the sense that Jinka Jabo is the baby talk. It's the suffering little child. It's itself derived from a quote, or a reference to a passage in Matthew of giving the children water, giving the suffering children water. But I don't mean to make this all about spirituality and all that, but that's kind of a starting point, and it's a good starting point when thinking about sorting yourself out. A goal without a plan is a wish, and what is a plan if not a statement of your whole purpose and your whole idea of going forward? I heard recently that on average, the average mind goes through about 50,000 random thoughts a day. And it kind of makes sense when you stop to count them. If you really stop to count them, you would find yourself coming up with a number close to that, because I did exactly that for a couple of days, and it just drove me insane, because I would get to 100 or 200 ideas, and I'd think, only an hour has passed, and it is really hard to do, but you can eventually, I think, I don't know how they measured that, and I'm not sure how accurate it is, but, I'm willing to believe that the average person just has like 50,000 stray thoughts a day. And I've come to believe that every thought that we have is itself a decision. And that we have 50,000, the average person makes about 50,000 decisions a day, just counting the thoughts in their head. Now you're saying, Jinka Jabo, how can there be 50,000 decisions for 50,000 thoughts? Don't you just think things and they don't mean anything, and they come and go, and it's just ephemeral, passing as clouds? Really, no. Every thought that we have, everything that we behold, everything that we consider in our mind is ultimately binary. Binary in the sense that it points towards life, or it points towards death. It points towards light, or it points towards darkness. That's what I think. It's 50,000 switches that go on your head, and you can choose to push them in one direction or another. You can take a stray thought of something missing, or something that hurt you, or some idea that comes up from the past, and bite on the pain again, and victimize yourself again, and feel that pain again. Or you can take that same thought and you can forgive yourself of it and love others more because of it, and realize that it's just something that's passing and gone. Whether it's something positive, or whether it's something negative, or if it's something embarrassing or hurtful, or something that makes you proud, or something where you think you got your way and you're trying to relive it in your head. Or if it's just, you look at any random object and you think of something else. I've got this instant coffee, and I'm thinking, okay, I need to buy some more instant coffee. You never just look at something and just see it as it is. You're always filling your head with decisions. You're always filling your head with stray thoughts. So every little thought, I think every thought is a decision, one way or the other. And so, when you start to realize that it's all decisions that you're making hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of decisions all the time, and they're all interrelated, and one points you in another direction, and one idea can lead to domino effect of other ideas that keep spreading and going deeper, either into feelings of pain or feelings of love, then you have to take more responsibility for what's going on in your own head. And that's what I think Jordan Peterson, the good doctor, the University of Toronto psychologist who's been under a lot of fire for his views, like, that's what he means, I think, when he says sort yourself out. And it's daunting and it's terrible, but it's also liberating to think, well, you know, you do have that control. You can change the way you feel about things and about people, and do it in a very beneficial way to everyone around you. And so those are the ideas that have kind of been going on in my head, and that's where I'm thinking, damn it, you know, it's so easy to complain about everything, but you just have to stop sometimes and, you know, sort yourself out.